Don Lemon, who's actually from Louisiana, by the way, from Baton Rouge, was arrested recently and then released, along with, I think, 3 other journalists. You know, he was in Minnesota. He was covering a church protest. Just how do you see where the society is going with the silencing of journalists, but the amplification of people who seem to be singing the tune that those in power want them to sing?
The division, that's what people want. That's what not everybody wants. That's what, you know, some people want is the division, but it's only law if it helps you. It's only law if it moves your narrative. And that's the crazy thing to me. It was just like with the shootings that happened in Minnesota, where you can't just shoot somebody because you want to shoot them. I saw the videos. We talked about it before. Law is law. And why are you arresting Don Lemon? What did he do? What did he do? Was he brandishing a gun? Because that's what we heard last time. That was bullshit. What did he do? That's my whole thing, not even getting right, left, and wings and all that stuff. If you want to arrest a human being, I need to know what his charges are. And I've heard there's a lot of people that didn't even want to charge him and he still got arrested. Let's not change laws for a narrative. And that's my problem with the Don Lemon situation.
Right. I just want to say real quick, you know, they like to say the sequel a lot of times is worse than the first movie, the original. And we've seen this before. We've seen it years ago. They told us who they were, the first runaround, took a 4-year break. They sold everybody. They put this person back in office, and now they've come out even stronger. Everything that they campaigned on, they flipped upside down. They said, we're gonna, you know, it's about freedom of speech. That isn't true, because if that were the case, we wouldn't have one of the best journalists that in our time be arrested for trying to get the message out in a peaceful protesting way. He clearly stated that he wasn't a part of the protest. He was there working. He stated it multiple times. Mm-hmm. This was a real petty move by the top guy in charge and his whole administration. It's been that way. They don't want you to believe what your eyes see. They want everything to be complete opposite. Again, I frame it as psychological warfare is what they're doing. It's so many petty games, man, and to take Don Lemon, who isn't a threat to anyone, he's just doing his job. It just clearly shows that our democracy has been impeded on. Mm-hmm. We, as American citizens, we should be on high alert, because everything that we were taught, what was right, is being affected. You know, our First Amendment rights, obviously they don't respect the Constitution at all, but this just clearly shows you that they don't respect our First Amendment rights. They say they claim to, and they don't, man. So I want him to just go out there and continue to be for the people, be a voice for the people.
I think the first thing is Don Lemon and other journalists being arrested for covering the news in their way that doesn't necessarily further the agenda of those in power is just the further deterioration of our democracy. Mm-hmm. And it just shows once again that the Constitution and amendments only matter when you can point people in the direction of your narrative. Yeah. And they've continued at the highest level, continue to show us that they're going to do the things that benefits their agendas. We saw it in Minnesota with the death of Alex Preddy as compared to what we saw with Kyle Rittenhouse. And then now you see this with Don Lemon covering a protest, saying, I'm not a part of the protest. I am here as a journalist asking questions of both sides, which is fair reporting. But because it's not furthering your agenda, because he is not reporting or observing or giving his opinion in a way that allows you to continue to pull a veil over the eyes of democracy, it's a problem. And when a federal judge and an appellate court say, we won't issue you a warrant, now you are showing the pettiness, the immaturity that you're still going to do it anyway because you can. This has now become a country where it feels like criminals are more protected and they fight more to keep people in the dark of things that have actually happened, that are actually illegal, by now putting up smoke screens, whether it's Don Lemon or tweeting about President Obama and what he's doing, as people are fighting to see what the DOJ has to say about the Epstein files. As people are wondering, how is someone shot 10 times in the back by a group of federal agents with a mask on, and they aren't under any sort of investigation, but yet you're arresting journalists? And if I'm Don Lemon, honestly, this is kind of the best thing that happened for his career. No disrespect, because now everybody knows, just as we saw early on during the football season with Jimmy Kimmel and the silencing of anybody who said something against the office. Whether you're suspended, you lose your job, the way you're treated. Now we're seeing the same thing with Don Lemon. Amendments and constitutions and rights only matter when they matter to the people who are making decisions now. But if you're Don Lemon, now you're a hero. Now you're a martyr. Now your voice is louder. Now your impact is louder, because that decision says that you are making a difference. So I'm glad that he's safe. I'm glad that the other journalists are safe. And now it's time for them to continue doing their job in a way that they could be proud of.